We've seen a lot of DMEs go by the wayside during competitive bid. That's unfortunate. We hate to lose any good supplier in this industry. The reality is, while we would all like to think that we can take care of every patient, it takes a village to do this.
You spent years in compliance and regulatory leadership. What would you say providers are commonly getting wrong today about that?
Obviously, on provider enrollment side, there's a lot of shift in the last 3 years. CMS has implemented a lot of change in provider enrollment. Maintenance of that enrollment is critical at this point. We've got the moratorium going on now. If you risk losing that number, you won't get it back.
From your point of view, would you say DMEs are improving from a compliance standpoint, or are the same mistakes kind of happening over and over again?
I think people are learning. I think the desire is there, and I believe the intent is there. I think there is much more focus on it now. We've done our best to educate suppliers across the country, and then when they get into situations, refer them to the right people to be able to help them get their number intact. We are seeing improvement, but we still have lots of work to do on the education side.
If you could walk into a DME tomorrow and fix one thing, what would it be? All right, we are live on the #1 DME podcast, Claim to Fame, and today we have a very special guest, Lisa Wells from Mid-South. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Welcome, Lisa. Excited to get into it.
As am I.
Awesome. Well, before we get started, obviously, we just want to jump in and kind of find out a little bit more about yourself and about your company. If you want to kind of give us an overview of who you are and what you do.
Sure. I am Senior Vice President here with Mid-South Inc. Obviously, we have a home base in Alabama. We're licensed in over 40 states throughout the country. We have a physical presence in Florida, South Carolina, and Alabama, and in growth mode for sure.
Awesome. Lisa, you've spent more than 2 decades at Mid-South, chaired state boards, advised AA home care, run your state DME association, worked with Medicare councils, the list goes on, and you've been in compliance for this long. So we got to start there. How did you become one of the most plugged in people in DME regulation?
So it's interesting how that came about. When I first came here, obviously been here about 24 years, I knew nothing about DME. They said, "Tell me what you know about DME." And I said, "Well, I know a friend of mine works here. How fast do you teach?" And he said, "Well, how fast can you learn?" I said, "I can learn it as fast as you teach it." But when I started, my goal was to come here and be responsible for my actions and my actions only. And somehow I ended up becoming the compliance officer responsible for all actions for the entire organization. So it's a challenging role. I love that it is ever changing, highly regulated without question, but I've been very fortunate to make great contacts across the country that has helped me grow my career for sure.
That's awesome.
Lisa, did you ever expect that your career would kind of like evolve from credentialing and compliance into leading operations across statewide organizations?
No, I had no concept that would transpire that way. Obviously, we had a situation here. Our senior vice president passed away unexpectedly, and we had to shore up the ship in a very short amount of time. And myself and there's another partner, senior vice president here, that stepped forward and has helped me run this ship for about 2 years now. It's been interesting. I've learned a lot. That's always been my goal, is to continue to learn and grow in this industry. It's ever changing, but it's never boring, right? So
Nope.
it's been very, very fulfilling.
Lisa, like you said, you've worn many hats, right? From compliance, operations, credentialing, to payer relations, and probably much more. Which role do you think taught you the most?
Probably compliance would be my guess. If I had to say, operations is not my strong suit, right? Problem solving, change, moving forward, growth, those are definitely my strong skill sets. Negotiations, collaborations, that's where I feel like I thrive the best in this environment. And I love that side of the business.
Awesome.
Lisa, you've obviously been in the space for a good amount of time. What do you think's changed the most in DME since you kind of first started?
I would say the payer, trying to think how to word that. The shift in the payer guidelines, right? So we've seen a lot of change in this industry, third-party contractors getting involved now, a lot of shift in that. Obviously, our rates We've seen a lot of DMEs go by the wayside during competitive bid. That's unfortunate. We hate to lose any good supplier in this industry. The reality is, while we would all like to think that we can take care of every patient, it takes a village to do this. And so being mindful that we don't want to lose good suppliers regardless of their size in the industry has been eye-opening for us through this process.
Yeah, and Lisa, Med-South has grown into a pretty big statewide or multi-statewide operation. What are some of the biggest operational challenges that come with scale of this size in DME?
So we've done a lot of acquisitions in the last few years. Obviously, there are challenges there. We have, as we acquire these acquisitions and complete them, working off of different softwares. That's challenging, bringing people on board, educating people on all the regulations, all the requirements. That has been a challenge from day one, because as soon as they learn it, it changes. And then not just recognizing what those guidelines are, but the intent behind them, right? So how that impacts us as an organization. We always want to be compliant and do the right thing. We also want to take good care of our customers. So our focus has primarily been the last several years outcomes, right? We want to ensure that our customers' needs are being met and that they're able to stay safely at home.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, it's all about the patients, with all the technology and people involved, that's kind of the end consumer in our world, right? That being said, what do you think separates, great operators in DME from average ones?
That's a big one.
You
I
can
think
keep it simple.
I think you never lose sight of who you're servicing, right? We service the referral sources, we service the hospitals which we're partnered with, we service our patients, and we service our employees, right? So I think you have to have that servant leadership mindset and recognize the complexities of all parties that you serve.
I like that. Yeah, that was a big question, but I think a great concise answer. I like that.
Lisa, switching gears a little bit to the compliance side, you've spent years in compliance and regulatory leadership. What would you say providers are commonly getting wrong today about that?
What we see a lot is, obviously, on provider enrollment side, there's a lot of shift in the last 3 years. CMS has implemented a lot of change in provider enrollment, and maintenance of that enrollment is critical at this point. We've got the moratorium going on now. If you risk losing that number, you won't get it back, right? They're saying it's a 6-month, but that could be extended. We saw in hospice that was extended for 3 years. That's a potential here. Obviously, we as an industry support combating fraud and abuse. I'm not clear that this is the way to do it, but nonetheless, we're working within the boundaries that have been laid out. So, but that's a challenge. Your smaller suppliers don't always have that focus. They think, well, I've got my number, I'm good, but you've got to constantly update your information or you risk being revoked. And now with the moratorium in place, that revocation has greater impact than it would have in the past.
Yeah, we actually, the last episode we just recorded was with ACHC, kind of all around some of these topics. So, to your point, it's an ever-changing, highly regulated industry. So, the goalpost does move a lot, unfortunately. From your point of view, would you say DMEs are improving from a compliance standpoint, or are the same mistakes kind of happening over and over again?
I think people are learning, right? I think the desire is there, and I believe the intent is there. I think there is much more focus on it now. We've done our best to educate suppliers across the country on what the requirements are. And then when they get into situations, refer them to the right people to be able to help them get their number intact. But we are seeing improvement, but we still have lots of work to do on the education side.
Got it.
All right, Lisa, if you could walk into a DME tomorrow and fix one thing, what would it be?
Culture.
I like that. And Lisa, I noticed you've been posting a lot about leadership lately, which I think is awesome. I think that's something you definitely want to touch on a bit. You've helped lead large teams for a year. What is your leadership style?
I want to surround myself with people that know far more than I ever could. And then I want to enable them with the tools and the resources they need to be successful. At the end of the day, it's about ensuring that our people are successful, and then it's a win-win. So I've always tried to help grow people up through this industry. I was very fortunate. As I said, I started out here with zero knowledge, and I've had some great mentors across the country that are involved in this industry that have helped grow me, and I have a desire to pay that forward.
And,
I
and
love
what do you
that.
think? What do you think like makes a great culture though? Like besides the leadership side of things, I think leadership is one part of it. Culture is kind of another aspect of it. What do you think makes a great culture in a company?
I think your people have to trust in you. They have to believe in you and have faith in you. You can't have them operating in fear. We always want them to be able to bring situations forward and have good collaborative discussion. How did it occur? How do we fix it? And then help teach them move forward, right? Instead of just always hitting the you're in trouble button, right? Because when you operate in fear, people tend to hide things and you get nowhere. So I think keeping that trust intact is important, and keeping them growing and feeling engaged in the environment goes a long way.
Like we're coming back to DME is not easy, can be very stressful, especially with a lot of changes. How do you keep teams motivated during some of these more stressful regulatory or reimbursement periods?
My goal has always been to find the silver lining in it. And thus far, I've been able to find a silver lining in every shift that has occurred through competitive bid, through all of the changes going on right now with provider enrollment, through the TPAs, all of those things. You have to find a way to make things happen, right? It is up to us to lead this industry forward, and to just give up, throw your hands up in the air is not an option. My motto is be unstoppable. I live by that. I listen to it every morning on the way to work, and I believe that it is in everything that I am, to be unstoppable in anything that you set your mind to.
I
That's
love
great.
that. I'm actually feeling motivated, honestly, now that you just said
Yeah, it's
that.
kind of getting this going now. This is
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Got to
It's
preach it.
it's an industry not for the faint-hearted, but after I think we've released 40 episodes. I think this is probably like maybe the 60th that we've recorded. But people stay in DME, and I think it's some of the things that you mentioned. It's at the end of the day, it's about the patience. It's about sticking with it. But that being said, there are some challenges, right? So, kind of what's front of mind for you when it comes to some of the biggest challenges from Medicare and the payers right now in your world?
So right now, obviously, this moratorium in place, if you're in growth mindset, there seems to be some confusion around how that plays out in acquisitions. Acquisitions are still possible. You just
Hmm.
have to do it correctly. Competitive bid is always top of our list. We were fortunate that in this round, they did exclude some of the primary codes, right? It's
Yep.
going to be more supply driven. What does that look like for the future if they do these regional, the mail order type components? Some people aren't positioned for that. So I think we have to shift and change our mindset and how we service some of these individuals across the country. But there are silver linings to be found in all of this. We are seeing new people enter this industry every day. They're not crazy. They're finding a way to
Hmm.
make it happen,
Hmm.
be able to move forward. We have to do the same.
Yeah, I
Right on.
definitely agree with that. I see that from my side because, as you can imagine, if there's people looking at the space from the outside, they're thinking out of the box of how to make this work, and they're stumbling across solutions like Nico Health, for example. Right? They need a core platform, but I get a chance to speak with some of these entrepreneurs that are looking through a different lens, and they're definitely optimistic. Sometimes it can be hard to kind of see some of these things when you're in the thick of it, but I like that thought process for sure. That being said about the providers and competitive bid, do you think providers are getting enough of a voice in these policy conversations? Just, I know you're involved with AA Home Care, so curious of your thought on that aspect.
I don't think we are, not before the rule came out. Obviously, it was posted out. We had an opportunity to comment, but those decisions, a lot of those were already made before the proposed rule came out, right? I do think we're seeing engagement now and some discussions on how this could play out in a way that's beneficial for all parties. But again, it's up to us to find that silver lining and find a way to make this happen and to be successful and continue to serve the beneficiaries that we serve. So that's my motto. We just find a way.
Yep, absolutely.
Love that. Yeah. How concerned should providers be? around like increased scrutiny and documentation requirements and all that?
I don't think it's going to go away. Obviously, there's a lot of focus on fraud, waste, and abuse from CMS all the way up to the White House. I think that is warranted with what we've seen in the industry. There are a lot of good players in this industry that do try to follow all of the rules, and I don't think that have represented ourselves well enough. We have to do a better job in that aspect to show our value and to show all the things that we do well, that we're not those people.
Absolutely. And what are the conversations happening kind of behind the scenes with home care and different advisory councils that providers should be paying a bit more attention to, do you think?
I would say you definitely need to be involved. You need to have a voice in this. They have great connections. They represent this industry well, both BGM and home care, involved from both sides of that, and they collaborate as well. So I think that team effort, you've got to be a part of this and you've got to engage. That's the only way that we'll have a collective voice as we move forward to showcase what we are capable of doing here.
Lisa, and kind of, I just had a side thought. So we've had some other folks on the show that are involved with their state association. We have a great platform of DME providers here that very may well be in your state. Could you share a little bit about like ADMEA, who you guys are, how folks could get involved, and if they're listening and they're in Alabama, why they should join?
Sure. So I will say, I can say this. My career started with me getting involved with ADME. I learned how to advocate at a national level, state and national level, how to collaborate with the politicians and all the legislators and things like that. And it all starts at your state level. And then that opens you up to national levels and national conversations. Because of my participation in the state association, I grew up, obviously became a board member. Now I'm the vice president there. ADME continues to grow, and we are very focused on moving this industry forward. And then that also opened up opportunities, because if you're not a member of the state association, that opened up opportunity for me to chair the Jurisdiction C Council, to chair the National Provider Enrollment Advisory Council, to then participate with the REG Council and the Payer Council with home care. It just opened up so many doors, right? So I would say get involved, right? Be active, be vocal about all the things going on in this industry.
Yep, for sure. And from a vendor standpoint, I can attribute a lot of our success to participating in these conferences. I've attended most of them around the country, so they are highly impactful. And for any vendor that wants to be a sponsor, I would say be the top level sponsor to help support these type of associations around the country that, I think, it's just like kind of like voting, where you think your vote doesn't matter, but the collective does. So I can't stress that enough from my end as well. They're really impactful, and you get a chance to meet so many people. And one of our guests told us before, it's like they don't see each other as competitors when you're there, right? Technically, there may be some overlap in the areas that you service, but it really is, yes, you're competitors, but you also need to advocate for the industry so everyone can stay in business and help as many patients as possible. So that always stuck with me, where it's like these people are just having a good time. Technically, they're competitors, but they're really there to help each other at the end of the day, which I always find really awesome.
I've always said, going into all of these different councils and state associations, national associations, yes, we all recognize that we are competition for each other, right? But it's friendly competition. It's competition with people who operate in the same standards in which you do, right? So those are the people that we need to grow in this industry to keep it all intact. Because again, none of us can do it all. We would like to think we could, but we really can't. It takes that village.
Yep.
Right. Rising tides raise all ships. Is that right? Is that what the saying says? Yeah,
That's
we can all
correct.
learn from each other, right?
Yes.
Lisa, I'm curious, where do you think the DME industry is heading over the next 3 to 5 years? Obviously, things are changing rapidly. So, like Wayne was saying, the goalpost always kind of gets pushed out and things could keep moving around and keep changing. But I'm curious where you think it's heading over the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, we all know there's going to be so many more Medicare beneficiaries entering, right, the platform as they start to age out. You've got the boomer population. You've got a lot of people that's starting to age out. But even outside of the Medicare arena with your commercial plans, that growth continues to grow. We know that disease management is prevalent I think we'll see a huge focus on that as we move forward. We know there are a lot of initiatives in play right now to grow the environment, and there's no safer place to take care of someone than at home. That's where everyone wants to be. They want to be at home where they're comfortable, they're in their environment, and it's our job to make sure that we facilitate that they can stay at home. We know being at home is a lot less expensive than being in the hospital or skilled nursing, rehab, any of those things. So our job is to move it forward so that we can keep these people at home comfortably where they will thrive and continue to improve.
Absolutely. And from your point of view, Lisa, what types of DME providers are well positioned to win long term?
Obviously, your nationals, without question. I think you've got some strong up and coming regionals, but I think there's room in this environment for all levels. I think locally, your mom and pops, right, is how,
Yeah.
and I don't say that in a negative way. It's your solely owned who have just a handful of locations. There's a place for them as well, right? But I do see this industry changing. I think that technology is going to have a huge impact on this industry in the next 5 years. I don't think it will look the same as it does today.
How important, kind of piggybacking off of the technology standpoint, how important is operational efficiency as these margins continue to tighten?
It is of the utmost important, right? We have to be the most efficient. There's so many good things happening in technology right now that I think we need to harness. And the fear factor is that it's going to eliminate jobs. I don't believe it will eliminate jobs. Where we're focusing is it allows, for example, your customer service, who currently has to know all things, right? And be the forward facing of your company. They can now focus on customer service.
Yep.
What a better way to utilize that skill set? Customer service, taking care of the patients that we serve and our referral sources and everyone that's involved in this industry. I couldn't think of a better way to utilize technology than to free up people to be able to focus on the right things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a big topic of conversation, but if you can free them up to help in the human element of all of this is a huge win, especially if you're in growth mode. The more someone can do with less resources, the better. You could effectively scale without adding more head count, right? Which is the goal. That being said, what kind of excites you the most about the future of home-based care?
I just think the next 5 to 10 years, we are not going to recognize the industry as it is today. I think there's so many things available to us to grow, to be able to service more customers, to keep people at home where they're comfortable. And there's nothing that excites me more. We live in the greatest country in the world, United States.
That's right.
You can eat and do anything you want. And the opportunities are just so abundant here in this business model.
I could not agree more. That might be my favorite tagline from any episode we've done. I'm
I
not
think
just
that might be
saying that.
that might be the best way to end it too.
I'm not just saying that because I like you, Lisa. I really think that was extremely impactful.
I am very, very patriotic, and there's no other country that exists that can compete with us.
I couldn't agree
I
more.
love that. As are we. USA, baby.
That's it. That's it.
Perfect. Well, I think that's a perfect way to move on to our rapid fire round. It's our final segment of the podcast where we kind of just do our this or that fun round. If you're ready, we can get started. Wayne, you can kick it off.
Sure.
Let's go. And these are not brain busters. We've made it through the
just for
hard part.
fun, yeah.
Lisa. You did amazing.
Crushed it.
So let's see. Medicare audit or commercial insurance denial?
Medicare audit.
Accreditation survey or software migration?
Accreditation survey.
Favorite conference city? That's a good one.
That's a tough one. There's some really good
USA.
Right, that's right. We're in this country.
Yeah, send me anywhere as long as it's here. One DME buzzword you'd ban forever?
For me, I'm trying to get away from durable medical equipment and really embrace home medical equipment because this is about in the home.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, when I actually, going back to when you said you didn't come from DME, neither did I. And I'm like, is it DME? Is it HME? Do we need to put both? So I'm on the camp of just narrowing it down to one. Beach vacation or mountain cabin vacation?
Beach vacation.
My kind of person. Let's see. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Last one here. Most Alabama thing about you?
My accent, I suppose. I'm very southern at no question.
That's awesome.
That's great. Well, Lisa, thanks so much for joining. This has been a lot of fun. If anyone wants to reach out to you, find out more about your business or just get in contact with you, what's the best way for someone to do that?
Email me or my cell phone. Either way are great. If you guys are okay, I'm happy to give that.
It's up to you.
Sure. lwells@medsouthinc.net. My cell is 205-522-8036. Happy to help in any way I can.
Awesome.
great.
Thanks again, Lisa. This was an awesome episode.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to great things from you guys.
Yep.
Same here.